I'm Paul Bertolli, and you are listening to Ingredient Insiders.
This is Ingredient Insiders. I'm John Magazzino.
And I'm Andrea Parkins.
On each episode of Ingredient Insiders, we'll be talking with chefs and food writers about their favorite ingredients.
We then speak to the producer of that ingredient to learn its history, how it's made, and why chefs love to use it in their kitchens.
Today we have one of our favorite people in the studio with us, Andrea,
exciting,
in
John.
the Bronx.
I know. When I picture him, I don't picture him in the Bronx.
Yeah. Well, he's Mr. California, Mr. Northern California. He's such a great guy. He's so cool. Of course, we're talking about the legendary Paul Bertolli.
And he's here right now for the Fancy Food Show because his company, Fra'Mani, just won an award for their soppressata.
Yeah, so Paul, just to give a little background, great chef, was the lead chef at Chez Panisse from 1982 to 1992, 10-year run there. And then he was the chef at a great restaurant called Oliveto in Oakland, California, until I think about 2005.
Yep.
And from there, he started what is arguably the greatest salumi line in North America, a company called Fra'Mani.
Absolutely. And their line covers the gamut. It is cured salamis, cooked product like mortadella and salami Rosa. He has a line of hams, a line of cooked sausages.
Pancetta, guanciale. And he's got this salami Rosa, which I'd love to talk to him a little bit about.
Yeah.
And last time we had him on, we talked about mortadella, which couldn't have been more fun. So I don't even know what we're going to talk about today, but
I know it's going to be fun with Paul.
So coming up, the Salami Rosa episode with Paul Bertolli of Fra'Mani on Ingredient Insiders.
This season of Ingredient Insiders is brought to you by Bizzini Nuts, a name synonymous with exceptional quality and taste in the world of gourmet nuts and dried fruits. Whether you're crafting a Michelin star-worthy dish or just whipping up something delicious in your home kitchen, Bizzini's premium selection is designed to inspire your culinary creativity. Elevate your dishes with the rich texture and flavors that only Bizzini nuts can offer. From toasted almonds, perfect for garnishing, to pistachios that add a crunch to your salads, Bizzini has everything you need to enhance your recipes. Don't miss this chance to impress your palate and your guests with Bizzini nuts, the chef's choice for quality and flavor.
This episode is in partnership with the Chef's Warehouse and produced by Gotham Production Studios in New York City. So, I always say so when we start these podcasts. And you know what I'm going to say today?
What?
I am so excited to be back sitting across from Paul Bertolli. But you know what's a little bit of a bummer?
What?
Last time we sat with Paul, I'm going to paint a little picture here. We were in the hills of Berkeley, California, in the kitchen of his beautiful home. Mm-hmm. The hearth had a log burning in it.
We went out and collected the wood for the hearth.
It smelled like you were in a country home in the hills of Tuscany or Northern California.
He made us beautiful lemon verbena tea.
Yes, that from the leaves that he plucked from his garden. Mm-hmm. And I think there was even like a pot of sauce simmering on the stove, if I'm not incorrect.
It smelled really good in your house.
And then here we are today in the Bronx.
So very different. I think that's the takeaway.
It's not that the Bronx is beautiful, but it's a totally different climate.
But thank you for being here.
So circuitous route, too, I have to say.
But I think next for the third episode with Paul, we're going back to California.
Absolutely.
Always welcome.
Just make that deal with me. Okay.
Yeah, I've got a dozen. Somebody asked today whether or not I made prosciutto and why I didn't make. You asked that.
I asked that question.
So I have a dozen of those down in the cellar right now, and I make them for friends. They put their names on them, so they all have names, and they're down there in really even temperature because we're like 10 feet below the ground. So they age really well, and the temperature is consistent. The humidity is consistent.
I mean, let's talk about your house for a second if it's open game. I mean, first of all, you go in the basement of Paul's house.
Mm-hmm. The cellar.
Yes, the cellar. It's like visiting
I mean, it's
a
like
Tuscan or an Emilia Romagna aging room
Yeah,
for
you go down
balsamic
the
vinegars.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go down the steps, and I remember on the right was where the prosciuttos were hanging, I believe. Okay.
Close.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's been a few years.
Yeah.
And then you had like some sort of a cooler with
Marble boxes for lardo.
for lardo.
Did you
Yep.
have those?
Well, I did acquire them. Yeah.
Yes,
Yes. They're from
stone aging
Colonata,
boxes,
and
yeah.
they're
And then you
carved
were
out
also
of marble.
making some sort of like a walnut liquor,
Right. Good
Like a
memory.
nocino.
which was
Nocino,
so
that's the
good.
one. Yeah. Right. I've got a barrel of that still.
And you have all of your canned tomatoes and vegetables, all of your hanging dried herbs. I mean, it's
And then a beautiful salumi locker.
yep.
Yeah.
Glass door.
Right.
Wooden. Unbelievable.
You're missing the one artifact that's very visible when you walk in there. I've been studying it because it's remarkable what's there, what I'm learning about it. It's a big rock, right? So when we bought the house, it was 1995 or so,
Yeah.
and we excavated below it so we could have the cellar. And there were these enormous stones in there. They looked igneous. They looked like, they just blown out of a volcano. And I talked to the digger, and he said, it'll be so many $1,000s to get this out. I said, let's just build walls around it because it conducts, temperature into the space, and it's beautiful. Also, it looks like a snapping turtle coming out of there.
That's awesome.
So it's our rock, and it's actually the parent material in my garden. And I'm trying to understand more about layers down what was there before, because it has quite unique soil that I've been working with and growing my vegetables, my tomatoes in particular. I can only grow a certain kind of tomato really well there, I've learned over time. So it's a little terroir practice, And I found out that 10 million years ago, there was an eruption in Contra Costa County in the Sibley Park, and it blew these stones all over the place. If you go through Berkeley, you see them. There is a large outcropping and a lot of architectural features using this rock. So it's kind of cool.
That's very cool.
Really cool.
That's funny.
Did it take you a long time to learn and really be able to tend to your garden? Because I just, I'm a new homeowner, and this is my first year gardening, and it's more challenging than I anticipated.
Right. I have like a 1/4 acre property, which is unusual for the hills, and I was really lucky to get it, when we got it. But I realized that, that once we did, there wasn't much growing in the back at all. It was kind of weeds, and we have big redwoods back there and looked beautiful. And I said, this has a lot of potential. But when I started digging into it, it was like a lot of clay. Mm-hmm. And then the construction crew came through and they rolled over it. So I've been trying to reform the soil, and without bringing in inputs from this company called American Soil. They just do composts and mulches and things like that, and they have stones. And but I don't do that. I make my own. And I just wrote a piece on that in Substack. It's called "What About the Critters?" Because I have these recycle not only mine but neighbors' green bags, and one day I look at this, and there's just such a wealth of biological activity, worms and mites and flies and ants. They're all doing this work, and we all think like dinner starts at the if you're lucky at the market, if not in your kitchen, but it all starts a lot sooner than that. So I've been thinking about that.
Yeah.
The rocks and the critters.
I'm curious because you worked at Chez Panisse for 10 years.
Right.
And it's kind of at the forefront and has been at the forefront of farm to table and, working with all of these small producers. How much did you learn there, or did you bring that thought process about the small farmers? Like, talk to us about Chez Panisse, because I think it's such a...
Because you went in 10 years after they opened, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Was it already a hyper-focused on working with local farms?
Yeah. I mean, Alice had this revelation, if you read the first book that came out, and it was all about her kind of discovery that I had when I was working in Italy, how the whole system works together. For her, it was an auberge somewhere with a stream in the back of it where they fished the trout out and they picked the raspberries. And this was like, oh my God, this is how this should be, And so she created the restaurant around that. And there were a lot of characters, and it was during the whole, hippie deal that was going on. And it was she was very welcoming of everybody. And it's always been a place where if you're lucky enough to land there, miraculous things happened. And I felt that I did bring kind of Italian sensibility, not a kind of, but it was an Italian sensibility because I'd worked. So, for instance, we put in a fireplace and we'd spit roast and we'd grill. It burned down in 1979, so it was rebuilt, and we had an opportunity to put some things in that made it different. But what was, I think, really unique about it is, she gave up going to the farmers market, the ones that would come in from the Central Valley of California. And we had 2 full-time foragers, who were going out for fish and periwinkles and mussels, and then, the vegetable gardens and small orchards around to the north of us. And being there for 10 years, I cooked something like 3,500 menus that changed every night. So I took what skills I had, and we just, we had to put it together in 4 or 5 hours. And it was, remarkable. I mean, chefs don't get that kind of experience.
Would you go to the foragers or the farmers and say, hey, I want this specific type of Italian green?
That was
or did
the
you
difference.
let them come to you?
No, the whole cuisine is really response driven and ingredient driven, so you have to react. I remember the day that Alice she saw in the fish market live eel. She sent 80 eels to the restaurant at 3:45. We opened at 6, and I'm dealing with like squirming primeval snakes, and I had a Dutch chef, and he was. I said, you cannot kill these things easily, I called my Japanese friend. He said, just salt them down; they'll sleep. So we did that. We got it out. But that was the kind of thing, there were. Later on, it became actual collaborations with farmers. So we would finance peach trees and biodynamic farming there. So it was a huge influence, I think, on chefs all over the place. Certainly me.
Did you take that with you to Fra'Mani? Like that? I guess those those dishes are inspiration with you.
Yeah, but I mean, we make charcuterie basically. I have a prepared foods line now too, but it's the same, absolutely the same idea. And I haven't stopped being a chef because I'm making salami.
Right.
I mean, it's like the same thing, the same.
Do you ever
principles.
miss being in the kitchen?
I'm always in the kitchen. I'm, either developing or cooking for my wife every night, and my friends, who love to come over and do what you did, enjoy the cellar and the table and the fireplace. Yeah. So we put the fireplace, I mean, the Latin word for fireplace is focus. So it's always been like the focus of the house, in the old houses in Europe, you see that. And so we put it right there. And my kids especially have always, they have a real attraction to fire and food cooked on fire. Let's make it, let's make a fire, Dad. Let's make, cook something on there, That's cool,
So fun.
Yeah.
Well, the reason that Paul is in the Bronx, well, not only for, to visit our amazing sales team here, but it's, fancy food show time.
Yes.
And Fra'Mani received an award.
The Gold Sophie Award. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For the Fra'Mani Sopressata.
Sopressata, yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's pretty awesome.
Huge accomplishment.
Yeah. I think there were about 48 categories of foods, and in the meat area, we won for that. And I'm really proud of that because it was my grandfather's salami, and he used to send it to us in a box of my grandfather lived in the south side of Chicago when they emigrated, and she had a clothing shop right next to the butcher's shop, and I think I told this story before, didn't I? Yeah.
That's okay. Tell me.
Yeah.
I like this story.
No, so we had a big family. So my grandmother would send, fruit of the loom and dresses for my sisters and all that, and my grandfather would park this funky salami in the middle of it, and we opened up that box, and it was like Christmas, when it came, because we all loved it. So anyway, the sopressata that we make today is fashioned after that, with the seasoning, the grind, all that.
Beautiful. Is sopressata specific to a region of Italy? Because I have
or is it
collaborating
like a
grandparents
recipe?
that I always remember like a spicy, hot
Right.
Calabrian style soppressata. But what does the word soppressata mean?
I think hot soppressata.
Is there something behind that?
Yeah.
We'll let Paul
So
answer.
it's a name that's used quite widely for different kinds of salami throughout Italy that's been appropriated, but it's a verb. So pressare means to press, and before they understood fermentation, what they would do is they would press the water out, and there's still, I mean, you'll see those oval or elliptical shaped salami sometimes in the market. But if you go into the south, it generally is a pretty spicy salami in Calabria. Up in the north in the Veneto, where my grandfather comes from, it's a large diameter, not spicy salami at all. But you can find them in Le Marche. Firenze, it's like a head cheese. They put it in a jute sack. I remember when I was working there with these norcinos, we killed the hog. All the end cuts, they would go into the head cheese, the soppressata toscana, and leave it in a tree overnight. It's like this experience I had. I can't believe it. I was just like, what movie am I in here? And then I went back 10 years later and it had all flipped. The Brits, they call it County Shire. Brits came in, rolled over the terraced hillsides, where the white Chianina oxen would plow those narrow fields and terraces. They make the Fiorentina steak from that Chianina. And just this, as I was saying a little bit earlier, there was just so much going on that made sense together. The bread from the bread oven, Dario Cecchini, the butcher in town, and the cultivation of everything that was used. This, even the straw and the straw beds. I helped them fill straw beds, and it was like sort of like feudal, because there was still a landowner and contadini, or the peasants, and they kept the good stuff. Peasants got the other, and that introduced a whole tradition of salumi,
Yeah.
So.
Do you have a favorite region of Italy? Have you traveled everywhere? Is there anywhere in Italy you haven't been?
That's a good question.
I haven't really explored Campania or sufficiently Sicilia yet, Le Marche a little bit. I've been into Puglia, certainly Emilia-Romagna, Toscana, Lombardia, Veneto. I've been all pretty much in the north in the most recent years. Yeah.
One thing that strikes me about Italy, I've been lucky enough to visit many of the regions, is that it seems like everywhere in Italy and every small town has a butcher shop and probably somebody making local handcrafted sausages or salumi. And it's always amazing to me, even these like tiny towns and
That's how they kind of operate.
And the amount and the quality of what's available is mind-boggling.
Right.
And it's just, I feel like we miss that here. I mean, thank God for companies like Fra'Mani and,
right.
I think it's a loss.
They're not making charcuterie in Ridgefield?
No, there's no
Okay.
charcuterie makers in Connecticut that I know of.
Yeah, it's interesting to see like salsiccia, with like fresh sausage, started in Basilicata down in the south.
Yep.
And then it moved north with the legions of Rome into various cities and became something else. It became personalized to the city. And that's pretty unique, I think. Here, it's really ridiculous in that you can't call an Italian sausage Italian, like fresh sausage, Italian, unless you put fennel in it.
Yep.
It has to have fennel. It's a standard of identity. And most customers don't really like fennel that much. I've talked to some charcutier friends. They said just wave it over the top. You can put it on the label. Put a little pinch in there. So we don't make it really
Fennelly?
redolent with fennel. Yeah.
Was the soppressata the first salami that you made in the line, or?
Yeah, we made 6 different types. I was telling Jen before. We had salametti first. We had 2 salametti. We had Toscana. We had soppressata, and we had nostrano. Those 6. Yeah.
Then you transition from the cured line to the cooked line. So the last time we talked about mortadella.
Right.
And you have this other incredible product called Salami Rosa, which is cooked. Can you tell us? It's unique.
It's like the sister of mortadella.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know about this manifestation of it because I used to sell. I worked in delicatessen when I was a kid after butchering, And they had cotto then, There was a zampino, which was one made from the zampa, which is the shank. And then there was salami cotto, which is usually a fine grind, But I hired a guy in the early stages of building the plant out and consulting with me about Italian products. And I said, I want to make mortadella. He said, well, you should make salami rosa too. So salami rosa was made as a companion product to mortadella, because when you make mortadella, you have this smooth paste. And in the tradition, when they would cut the salami out, they'd have trim pieces, larger pieces from shoulder and leg, bound up with some of the mortadella paste. And then if you go to Bologna and the back streets of Bologna, you can see that takes a lot of forms. They'll put vegetables in it. There'll be, carrots and celery and mushrooms, even truffles, pistachio nuts. We use pistachio in ours, Yeah, so it's a quite a unique product. It had a tough go starting out, but we were able to interest a lot of people in it. And now it's one of our most popular products. Yeah.
Do Americans know I feel like there's so much more knowledge now surrounding the different types of products. Like even if you go back, I want to say if you went back 10 years ago, would most Americans know what mortadella is? Would most Americans know what soppressata is?
Even today, like I will talk to non-chefs or non-foodies and I'll say mortadella and what is that? And I can't believe I say this, but I feel like it's the only thing it's fancy bologna.
Italian style bologna.
Yeah, like Italian
That's
bologna.
fair.
I mean, because it kind of has that, reminiscent of it, at least. So I agree with you. I don't think, especially in the U.S., the charcuterie that we make is in no way you can compare it to a Fra'Mani or anything in Italy.
Right.
So I just don't think that, Americans know.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's really just a handful of producers, right, who are
Mm-hmm.
making kind of old world style salumi, and I think it's the pie has gotten very big for us who are competing with one another, and that's always been a good thing, I think, because it has increased the awareness. And
I think the answer is yeah. I mean, I think there's a huge awareness now of
Absolutely.
the different types of salumi
Yeah.
and salami, and it used to be, again, I'm going back to like my
There's
high
like a
school
charcuterie
days.
board on every menu.
Yeah, you'd go to a market and you could get salami. If you were in New York, in a big city, you could choose with fennel or without, or some different types of things. But I think now the array of products, thanks to Fra'Mani and some of the other producers, is like you really have a nice selection of things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what do we do with salami rosa? What are some of the applications? Is it can you use it just like mortadella, or are there other things that you've done?
I mean, it's a great sandwich meat, ciabatta it's particularly harmonious with peppers agrodolce, for instance. We've done that with it. Wherever you use mortadella, you could certainly use that. And I was talking today, of course, about the different ways you can wrap salumi around breadsticks or cheese, or you can stack it, you can stuff it into things,
Andrea, you can put it into a muffaletta. Andrea's on a big muffaletta kick lately.
Oh, are you?
We went down to New Orleans a couple of weeks ago.
Uh-huh.
Was that your first muffaletta, like in New Orleans style?
Yeah. And so Central Grocery is known for their muffaletta, so I have to have it. We Google it. They're temporarily closed.
Oh.
So I was like, all my,
broken.
Dreams were shattered. But I found this Eater article that they're selling the sandwich at the airport.
Made by Central Grocery.
So I was like,
Did it translate?
I ate it on that plane and I enjoyed every single bite. It was so good.
Yeah.
I
The
gotta say,
proportion, it's like the bread was delicious.
Yeah.
One, I think bread is like incredibly important.
Yes.
And then it's all about the ratio. So you need to have like a proper ratio of cheese to meat you need a salt, like some sort of a relish in this case.
Olive salad, yeah.
Correct. To keep, you want it to be not dry.
Yeah.
I don't want to say the M word.
Yeah. You don't like moist?
Moist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sloppy even.
I like
Yes.
a moist sandwich. What?
Moist.
Yeah, no, it is like a greasy sandwich, and it should be.
Well,
It should
Paul,
be.
we just did a presentation with Paul this
fabulous.
afternoon,
You
and his team made a
really-
muffaletta that was out of this world.
Dynamite.
Well, there was a long search for the right bread, and you can't get easily that bun that they use down there. It's too bready usually. So I said, "Well, go down to Italy and see what you can find." And he found a kind of crisp focaccia with it had a lot of holes in it, but that would be absorbent enough to pick up the oil from the olive salad. And I said, flip it halfway through so that it harmonizes. And then you're right about the proportions. I think that the American burger is so often ill proportioned,
Agree.
right? Like it gets all over your hands, or there's too much meat, or the bun's too soft, or things slip. Hard to find.
It's all about
Muffaletta-
the
muffaletta the same way.
ratios.
Yeah.
It
Well,
is
now I want to know
absolutely.
how you like.
Bun.
Now I want to know how he likes his burger.
Oh, you want to talk about burgers? Are you a big burger guy?
I'll eat one. Sure.
burger.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Who doesn't eat a burger?
Right.
I don't. I like 80% lean, 20% fat. I have to
Sing
say.
it to the choir.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm an 80-20 guy.
Right, 80-20. Yeah. Grass fed, I don't need it. I don't need it.
Yep.
I'm behind it, but
Yeah.
Are you a condiment guy?
yeah.
Are you making a special sauce? Are you a ketchup, a mayo?
Mayo?
I
Pickles.
like to make a good mayo. The pickle's got to be there.
Yeah.
I
What kind of
won't, I
bread?
won't put a tomato on it unless
Nope.
it's the season for tomatoes.
No tomatoes on a burger.
How about an onion?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
An onion
Yeah,
on
for
a
raw
sure.
onion?
Yeah.
Right.
I used to love putting like lettuce, tomato, onion on a burger. The lettuce, it just gets in the way now. And to your point too, unless the tomato is at the peak of the season.
Right. I
Don't
also
even
find
waste my
that
time.
the tomato, you take the bite and it just like slides out.
Thin, in the right bun.
Okay.
It'll stay there.
All right.
Two-handed.
We're all over the board today talking about
We
burgers,
are.
muffalettas, and now I'm going to throw something else into
All
the
right,
mix.
do it.
Let's
What are we
ratios.
Let's
talking
talk
Talking about
about
ratios.
Roman pastas because
Ooh.
I feel like even though they've been having a moment for several decades in Italy and Rome, I feel like in the U.S., just in the last 5 years or less,
Yep.
there's a big thing. I mean, sitting to my right is Jennifer Sussman. We had a cacio e pepe battle a couple of years ago at my house because cacio e pepe had become all the rage.
Yeah.
Who won?
I don't want to talk about it. I might have, but let's,
Okay.
It's always
You don't
just-
wanna
it was,
sh-
it
okay,
was
I
under
get it.
protest. I don't want to make anybody, embarrass anybody here.
Okay.
But let's talk about the big pastas of Rome for a sec because Paul knows these inside and out.
What's your favorite?
You know that cacio e pepe has gone too far when it becomes a potato chip, right? So
Yes.
it's ubiquitous.
Yes.
The cacio e pepe.
I think it probably already is a potato
Right.
chip, is it?
Yes, it probably is.
Anything. I think that it is.
So what are the big Roman pastas?
Carbonara,
Carbonara,
amatriciana,
matriciana,
gricia,
gricia,
right? Cacio e pepe.
and
Those
cacio e
are
pepe.
the four.
Those are the big
So
four.
The commonality,
Yes.
guanciale.
Guanciale in all of them as a
Yeah.
starter.
Yeah.
Why is it guanciale and not pancetta? I'm going to make a quick confession here.
Yep. You confessed this to me last night.
I know. I use
Just say it.
bacon
Yeah.
in my starting my
You can do
carbonara
that.
because I haven't been able to find a good guanciale. Okay, Paul is
Paul
okay with
gave you
it. Okay, I
permission.
feel good
Okay.
now. I've been vindicated.
I fought with my crew about our guanciale because I had the ones in Italy, and there's the USDA cut sheets, for specific cuts, basically give you the jowl. The jowl in a USDA plant will usually be slashed. The inspectors go through, they look for the glands to make sure the animal's okay, and
Oh.
so I said I can't make an Italian guanciale with this, and I didn't have the room either in our plant to make it the 60 to 80 to 100, 120 days fermented and hung. But so I started experimenting with it and looking around to see what was available and started making these pastas with it, and it stood up. And I think the reason is because the basis of all those pastas is pork fat.
Mhm.
So it calls for rendering lardons or slices, of guanciale. And guanciale is not, it's a harder fat, right? So it's a great fat for salami. When we can do that, I usually make some with that from the chico. I mean, this plate fat is also good on the shoulder, top shoulder, but the guanciale is terrific, And I think what I taste in authentically made Roman pasta is that in the basis, matriciana, hot onion, bucatini,
Yeah.
different pastas and things. But
I think it's also interesting that each of those dishes has a pasta that matches to it perfectly. So you mentioned bucatini with a matricana, spaghetti, and cacio e pepe.
Right.
Tonorelli maybe with one of them
You
too.
could.
Yeah, I feel like I see that.
Matriciana. Yeah, you could do that. Yeah, I mean, we're more democratic here, I think.
Yeah.
And you can talk to Italians, and they will insist that they've got to use the right one.
Are you a carbonara guy?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's I
How
like
do you make your carbonara?
So what I do is I get the guanciale going, right? And I take the egg and I mix it, and it's just yolk, right?
Yolk only.
Yolk and cheese mixed together, and pasta water for sure. Some of the starchy water helps you give it first of all helps to melt the cheese,
Yeah.
Pecorino Romano usually. But if I don't have that, you put Parmigiano. It's okay, And I try and work that into a creamy sauce. Simple to make, but not so.
Right.
To get it to the table so that it has that suppleness and creamy sauce and the balance is right. The pecorino, you put too much, it's salty, or it's so it's the balance. It's balancing, which was what all chefs have to do.
I agree 100% with.
Do you want to share your trick with the world?
I don't know if it's a trick. I read in a cookbook, and I think it was Biba Caggiano years ago, that one of the secrets was get the pasta into the guanciale and the pork fat and coat it quite a bit. Then work in the egg. Yeah. Then work in the cheese. I think it made a subtle difference, but gave a lot more of that pork flavor, which separates it from just being any other creamy pasta.
Yeah.
Cacio e pepe. I want to talk about cacio e pepe a second.
Whoa.
That's like simple, but it's not simple to make.
No.
Right?
I mean, again, I think it's similar. You have to get the temperature right, the timing right. So the other thing with Roman pastas, it's only dried pasta, correct? They never use fresh?
Right, hard wheat, semolina.
Yep.
Right. Further you go north, more eggy it gets.
Andrew's trying to touch on all my pet peeves right now, because I always feel that those Roman pastas, it's got to be a dry pasta.
Yeah.
There's got to be a core. There's got to be bite to it.
Yep.
And a lot of restaurants today, I think that
fresh pasta
is better pasta.
But when you're making Roman style pastas, it should be dried pasta.
Yeah. I think so.
And I think it doesn't make your restaurant or you as a chef any less. You're doing it for tradition, because that's how the recipe, or that's how it should be made, not because you want to say that you make fresh pasta on your menu. That I don't like. You heard it here first.
Yeah, you could do it. I mean, if you
you could.
It's just not the same.
No,
it's just not the same for
it's
sure.
True.
I mean, those sauces support certain kinds of pasta, and the bite especially is different when you make egg noodles versus water and semolina noodles.
Yeah,
for
sure.
Will you go to Italy and taste? When you go to Italy, do you taste salumi wherever you go, and try to seek out certain butcher shops or certain regions that have a specialty? Something I fell in love with recently, cotechino, the sausage. Is that from Piemonte?
No, Emilia-Romagna.
Emilia-Romagna.
Yes. Right. Cotechino, I usually make that once a year, and I'll send you some because...
Why are you looking at Andrea when you say that? You're going to send me some?
Because he always sends me home with something. Remember the salami?
I know, but I want some.
You're going to get it. You're going to get it.
I'll share. I'm a good share.
So I make it for New Year's because that's when it's eaten there, right? So you eat it with lentils, and the lentils resemble little coins, so it's considered an auspicious
good luck
food.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I ate a lot of it. When I was doing balsamico, I was the agent for a barrel maker in Modena. So we used to eat a lot of cotechino, and it's a real treat. I mean, it's made from usually the belly skin. There's a lot of belly skin. It's like 45% belly skin, and the shank meat, and cheeks of pig, so it's really like offal and end cuts almost, mainly end cuts. You wouldn't call it offal because there's no liver or heart or anything like that in it, but But I love to make it, and it's also made in the what's called the blind casing. It's the middle intestine of the pig, which has, just like our felino salami used to make it in the other the terminal casing, we'll call it, for the pig, the bung, and it just confers this piggy flavor. It's a real barnyard kind of sausage, real rustic kind of sausage. So I love to make it, and it's a real treat.
Delicious.
Do you feel like, mortadella, I still think it's like in its, prime?
I think the more mortadella I see, the more mortadella I want.
Yes, I agree.
I just keep seeing it. I feel like every time I see it now, it's sliced even thinner and it's fluffier on the bread. And we just had some mortadella with Paul a few minutes ago. It's just, I think it's the meat of the moment.
It really is. I don't even know, like we always try and predict, what's going to be next. Like John thinks that the next new lettuce, or not even new, but that watercress is going to be making a comeback. Yeah, so what do we think the next chart, like, it was prosciutto, salami, mortadella. What do we think?
Maybe it's salami.
What
Rosa.
Do you think, Paul? Could be.
Whoever promotes it, we had a mortadella contest. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, you did? No, I didn't.
We sent invitations around to Aladoro and all these restaurants and chefs, and they did what they did to make a sandwich with mortadella, and that got a lot of interest, and our orders spiked, and I don't know. I have a lot of fondness for it, for the process of getting started with it, because we bought a machine that does this particle reduction from Rolando Visconti. He only made machines for mortadella outside of Milano, and he took us on tours of plants, and we looked at all the machines, looked at how they were making it, and the industrial way, the artisan way. Then he took us back to his office, and he had one of these giant mortadellas, and somebody sliced it out very thinly on a Berkel slicer. We're watching him, and he comes in and he takes the whole slice of mortadella and he puts it on his face, right? And he takes it off. He goes, in Italian, look, no grease, So it's the quality of that machine when you're using prime cuts. You're not loading it with fat, that gives you this clean, the bite and
that's
the flavor.
When you've made it in life, Andrew. When you keep mortadella and a slicer in your office.
Yeah. You can just walk up, have a little nosh.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And he knew that was going to close the deal.
Yeah.
Also, right? Yeah.
I mean, if you're willing to put the product on your face,
it's a face mask.
Great. I would do a mortadella face mask.
That was quite a
100%.
That actually might be the next top thing at the spas of New York.
You heard it here first.
The mortadella facial.
Oh, you put cucumbers on your eyelids.
Yeah, why not?
Perfect, level of moisture. They were giving caviar skin treatment things. Now it's mortadella. Get a little pork fat in there.
See, I don't want these moments that ingredients have to make, to what Paul said about the potato chip, making it lose its essence, its soul. I don't want to lose that with these trends. We were just talking with Thomas Keller and we were talking about caviar, and I feel like even caviar is becoming this. It's
not. I think it's losing the special.
Yeah, and I don't like that.
Or the cachet of the ingredient. If
you're putting it on top of everything, it doesn't matter what it is, that takes away from the ingredient. I think. Mm-hmm. And I just don't want people like truffle. I mean, truffle is so special, and now it's in hot sauce. No,
it doesn't make sense.
I think there should be rules.
This is Andrea's rant for the day.
I'm on my ingredient soapbox.
Yes. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. What's the difference between bologna and mortadella?
Paul?
Yeah, I mean, bologna was a mortadella knockoff, right?
Yeah.
Right.
From the word bologna, right? And when Oscar Mayer still makes it, right? They make bologna. And I remember my mom, when I was a little kid, I used to go I went to the convent kindergarten, big town. I'd come home with a little uniform on, and she'd make me a bologna sandwich with mayo on white.
Yeah.
And I'd watch Captain Kangaroo.
Yeah.
Sounds similar to my childhood.
Yeah. So it goes back, but it, and then it became, a way of denigrating,
Yes.
denigrating language. Like that's a bunch of baloney, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's where it came from.
Andrea's
It's like
full of
this
baloney.
mystery meat, right?
Literally and
You're full of
physically.
bologna. Yeah. But
I'm
it
going
has
to be
such
full of something.
in the museum, there's a museum outside of Parma where they have these 3 stone tablets, medieval period, and there's some pigs, and there's a mortar and pestle in the tablet. So the name, I figured out, there's controversy about where the name comes from, but I think it was mortadella della carne, mortaio. Mortaio is the mortar, della carne di maiale, whatever. And in the monasteries, apparently, they used to pound it to make that paste.
Yeah.
And I think it just, from there, it went technological,
That's cool.
And, yeah.
That's really cool.
It is kind of cool. Yeah.
But I think it's all about the quality at the end of the day, right? I mean, because
He's making fun of me.
no, I'm not. There's Oscar Mayer bologna.
Do you want to sing the song? I'm dying to.
OSCAR.
No, my bologna has a first
yes.
name. It's OSCAR.
Oh, my gosh.
My bologna has a second name. It's MEYER. If you ask me what I say, BOLOGNA.
How about
Dude,
I
that was
wish
pretty
I
good.
was an Oscar Mayer wiener.
We all know that one.
Wow, this conversation has gone so many different directions, but I'm having much fun.
My friend, my old college friend, says you should get one of those trucks.
Oh yeah,
the wiener.
Yeah.
The Wienermobile. The other thing about mortadella, though, is that the controversy about the name, and I've been looking into this because I was thinking about now how can we make this even more authentic? And so one other theory is that it comes from mirto, which is myrtle. So I ordered some myrtle leaves and some myrtle berries, and I'm going to try that.
Interesting.
Where
just
do
to
you
see.
get
Yeah.
myrtle?
What is myrtle?
It's like wild blueberries or huckleberries. It grows on a little bush, and it's a dark berry, and it has a very, a little odd taste to it.
Are they sweet?
No,
Okay.
they're just aromatic. So I thought we'll try it and see, But there are certain people who just say that's where the name come from.
Let's do a rundown of all the Fra'Mani products
Okay.
that we have at the Chef's Warehouse.
Let's do it.
So we've got soppressata, the award-winning soppressata.
Mm-hmm.
We've got mortadella. We've got
Salami Rosa.
several different types of salami, correct?
Yeah.
Toscano. That won award. Sophie also.
won an award.
The Nostrano.
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 The rosemary ham.
Rosemary ham.
The little ham. I love that little ham.
Yeah.
All the sausages.
Yes.
What are the different types of sausages we have? Fresh sausages.
They're cooked.
They're fully cooked.
Fully
yeah.
cooked sausages.
Yeah.
Right.
What are those?
So there's a classic Italian with fennel. There's a spicy Italian sausage.
Yeah.
There's a basil sausage. The one that I reference is the salt and pepper because you like mozzarella in the South. You go to the abattoir and they make it right there and you eat it right away. Fresh. So just salt and pepper too. Maybe a little white wine with garlic crushed into it, spread over the top. That's it. Delicious. What else? Andouille. That's duck.
Pepperoni.
That's a dry cured. So our pepperoni is not made from beef, and it's not. It is. We use a little smoke in it, but it's made like a salami. So it's fermented and dry cured, just like most salamis. Pepperoni is made in a very quick process, right?
And this pepperoni, we just had it on pizza too. Fantastic.
Incredible.
Good, yeah.
Really good flavor.
Thank you.
Pizza makers get that pepperoni.
Uh-huh.
Does it cup?
No.
Okay, no cupping.
No. That's a little, yeah. If you like the muffaletta, you like the cupped pepperoni, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The little,
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
gives you a
Jen
shiny
Sussman,
coat.
what am I missing?
Pancetta.
Pancetta.
Mm-hmm.
How could I forget the pancetta?
Guanciale,
And guanciale
the
in some
new-
of our markets.
The brand new guanciale.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Right. Pancetta is the rolled one, and then we have a smoked. That's the smoked one, and that's delicious.
Yeah.
That's like it's a combination between lardo and pancetta, and is delicious the way it is.
And then
Smoked,
there's that
it's ready to
prosciutto
eat.
that says John and Andrea on it.
Oh, that's right. And the cotechino for New Year's.
Okay.
So another quick question. Are pancetta and guanciale interchangeable?
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
What do you think?
Sometimes I see recipes that call for pancetta as a starter for.
Yeah, I mean
cooking certain things.
it's used in a pinch. I mean, it'll
Yeah.
do the same thing. It'll melt, over the heat, and it'll give you the fat of the pig. But yeah, they're seasoned differently.
Too
At
much
least that's
pepper
where-
in there, maybe, or other seasonings.
Yeah, yeah. It's just like the quality of as I was saying before. The cheek and the jowl is very firm, and you can make a terrific BLT with guanciale.
A PLT.
A PLT. That's right.
Andrew
No, a
just
GLT.
fainted.
This way.
I'm fainting.
Yeah, I love those
A
sandwiches.
guanciale lettuce tomato.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, yes,
GLT.
you slice it thin and then you render it crisp.
Yum.
It's different than bacon usually, and it.
Well, it's not
I love
smoked.
that idea. That's like a
Yeah.
sophisticated kind of
Do you
next level
prefer-
BLT.
Pancetta flat or rolled?
I can't say that I have
And
a
like,
preference.
which one came first?
They do both. I mean, there's pancetta rigata in Florence. It's very lean. Riga is a line, right? So it's like
Okay.
lines of lean and fat. And then there's a rotolata, which is the rolled one, right? And that's usually hung for 60 days or so, fermented. Then there's a fumigata, which is the smoked, right? And there's tesa, which is the extended one, the whole belly, like I showed you today.
Okay.
So, yeah,
So
that's
it's
a
region
whole
specific.
hung belly. Yeah. Sorry?
So it's based on the region.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, but they're kind of made, the smoked stuff is further north in Alto Adige up in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like we're spec.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think the first time I met Paul was in New York City.
Weren't you like testing
were-
to see
Yeah,
if
Paul
people were
had
going to like
just
Pounded the
Fra'Mani?
pavement.
Yeah, Paul had just was working on Fra'Mani products, and he came to New York. I'll never forget. I met him in the city. He was holding like plastic shopping bags, peeking inside. He said, "Yeah, I got some prototypes. I want to go test them." We walked around the streets of New York. That was a long time ago. But I want to find out today. When you live in a beautiful place, Northern California is great. You've got these abundant markets, great ingredients. We talked about your beautiful garden. Do you enjoy coming to New York for the restaurants? Do you enjoy like checking out what's going on in
Oh, God,
the
yes.
markets? What do you like?
What's
Where
not
do you
to,
go?
What's not to like, I mean,
Are you a pizza guy? Will you come to New York and eat pizza? Like,
yeah,
not that you don't have great pizza in San Francisco and the Bay Area, but
right. Yeah, I like little neighborhood restaurants in Greenwich Village. And, I had a fabulous lunch at Le Bernardin. Thank you, John, again.
fancy.
Yeah, and we have a lot of customers here now, so I enjoy seeing them and connecting with them, finding out what they like. But I mean, the city is, what can I say that hasn't already been said? It's just the wildest, never sleeping city of the world, and to be here in that excitement is just. It's really stimulating,
Is there anything
I'm glad to go back after because I'm stimulated.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe overstimulated when I'm here.
It's a good word to describe New York City. Stimulating.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Are there things that you want to eat when you come to New York? Do you ever think about like?
Do you crave things?
Yeah.
Like I have to hit
Well,
up
I got to
this
go to
spot?
Russ and Daughters and have a breakfast.
Great answer.
I mean,
I love that.
Yeah, I mean that's delicious, and I used to get the sabrettes on the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Dirty water dog.
Love it.
I
That's our
love it.
dirty water dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a dog. What else?
Are you a pastrami guy?
Ooh,
or are
this is
you,
a good one.
Oh, totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So Lower East Side. What's the name of the place?
Katz's.
Katz's.
Katz's is still there,
Absolutely.
and Carnegie's gone, right?
Carnegie Deli is gone.
It's
Yeah.
gone. Yeah.
But no, I love that. Usually, if I'm going to go order a beached whale, I'll have another person with me to share half of it.
That's funny.
Those sandwiches are so huge.
So huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love that. I love the park. I took a long walk in the park this morning before coming.
Awesome.
And yes, New York,
Well,
very exciting.
we're so happy to be sitting with you today. And thank you for your time and the partnership with Chef's Warehouse.
We love Fra'Mani.
We do.
We love Chef's Warehouse, I have to say. I mean, it's just, it feels like family, with everybody who's been here, and the way that we're supported, for being a boutique producer is, I think, very unique. We are understood and really cared for. I really appreciate it. So, and I was happy to be able to talk today, although I don't usually speak. So it was a little strange to be in front of a bunch of people all of a sudden.
You did great. I mean,
you did great, and it was really
super interesting.
It was super interesting and really educational for everybody who was there. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Most welcome.
What are we going to talk about next time with Paul?
You got to come back to Berkeley, and I'll make you some more of that hallucinogenic tea.
Yes, let's talk about hallucinogenic teas.
Yes, I'm in.
Yeah, that was a joke. I think it got cut out of the
I think I
last
want to go to Paul's house and make hamburgers.
Ooh.
Well, thanks again.
Thanks, Paul.
You're most
Thanks for
welcome.
listening
Thank
to
you.
this episode of Ingredient Insiders. Follow us on Instagram at Ingredient Insiders. You can find the products we discussed on today's episode at chefswarehouse.com or at your favorite specialty retailer.